I think we have shy people in there. Nobody's telling us where they're from, but that's okay. I think we should get started. I'm going to introduce you. We need that whole hour, so I know people will come in one at a time. So
Sorry, I'm Bhavna from London and I want to wish you all good luck on your session.
thank you. Welcome. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our session on Crush and Flow with Janis Nakano Spivack. Oh my God, I met Janice many, many years ago, and she and I are going to talk about that briefly later. But first, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Purvi Shah. I'm the founder of Kids&Art Foundation, just in case you're joining us for the first time. And today with us, we have Janice. She is the founder of Brite Catalyst and the innovator behind the Crush Workshops programs. Her 30 plus year career as an award winning executive has taken her from art as an advertising art director to inspiration as a digital media evangelist, and finally into health, navigating the seas of mental wellness with her newest venture. Today, she consults, teaches, and speaks on change minding, media, and business innovation, and is dedicated to making skills and knowledge critical to managing high change environments easy, usable, and actionable in everyday life. So, Janice, welcome and thank you so much for being here. Before you get started, I also want to share that Janice has very, very generously created a special promotional code for AHI 2020 to offer our attendees. And I'm going to share that code in chat. Feel free to copy it because once the session is gone, you might not have access to it, but don't worry, we will send it to you in our thank you email as well. So without further delay, Janice, please take it on. And Janice, would you like everyone to be mute now?
It might be, yeah, easier for everyone else. Welcome and thank you, Purvi. I'm so inspired by you, and I'm honored to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. So how long ago did we meet? Somebody asked me, and I'm like, oh my God, we're trying to show our age.
At least 25
Maybe,
years.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
I met you at Organic. Is that correct? When
I
you
think so.
were
Yeah,
Organic, yes.
we might have met through Pixar, not
Our
Pixar.
husbands,
Yeah,
DreamWorks.
DreamWorks.
Yes,
Yeah, through our husbands who are both animators.
yes.
Yeah, and then I think we were the two wives who were delighted to find someone else who was also a designer. So
Yes,
we got excited. Yeah.
absolutely. And then my journey's gone from design to cancer caregiver to starting a nonprofit, teaching all over the world. I mean, it's just everywhere. And just like that, your life has taken many creative forms. Would you share that?
Yeah, so I think that as you and I have really reflected, um, the skills that we learned as designers and early artists have carried us over, I think, into the lives and the things that we're doing today. So oftentimes when I talk about Crush and becoming an entrepreneur, people have questions about how did you get from being, I actually started at a very young age as a fine artist. And when I went to art school, I thought I was going to be a fine artist. And by chance, I took an advertising class and I became absolutely mesmerized by the speed and the intensity and the mix of language and art form. But also in reflection, I'm now 37 years into my career. I think one of the most interesting things about being an advertising artist, having to deliver on demand, is it teaches you how to not be so precious, but also be open to the discovery of what might happen. Right. So as artists, sometimes we fall into that flow of like, oh, it's perfect, it's perfect, it's perfect. Whereas in advertising, I began my career with tracing paper.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole journey is sort of like sketch, throw, sketch, throw. And so what that enables you to do and how you translate that into products that you create or initiatives that you want to move forward with is it teaches you sort of to be, what do I see here? Right? And not judge too quickly, but rather be open to discovery.
I really like that you said that. I think everyone keeps saying, how did you, for me as well, how did you manage to get into nonprofit or do all the things? And I feel it's art. It's my background, that I was open to anything, that I would never say no to anything. And that every challenge was like, sure, I'll do it. And I would do it and then think about it. You know what I mean? It's like just jump in first. And I know my siblings used to always pick on me for that, but that's all I knew, how to do. And also, that whole thing about that perfection or just going in one direction didn't exist. So yeah, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I think as I reflect on what you're doing and the power of our minds in the journey of, whether it's healing or whether it's creating, or whether it's bringing them together and creating something new. One of the things that I discovered in my mid-50s, right? So I didn't even know what I was doing through my entire journey. And it wasn't until my mid-50s where I sat down and said, what have I been doing? And the answer was really, I've been saying yes. So I've been saying yes to like, can you do this? Yeah, I think I can, right? And even if I didn't know how I was going to do it, it was really, I will discover how to do it and I won't get it right, but I will be open to the idea that there's something more to do. And so being the crush itself is really about not worrying about the boxes that we have. Oh, that's business practice. Oh, that's art. Oh, that, right? We have all of these preconceived notions about where things should be in boxes. And having had the privilege of starting in the internet before it was even commercial, right? As we follow that journey, what I've discovered is, rules are there to be reimagined. And so the crush is really about taking, everything and sort of mashing it together and saying, what if we did this thing?
But I think it's hard for people who've always gone in one particular way, even if they want to, they stop themselves, or the people around them stop themselves. So I know you and I have been talking about the crush for a while, and I just love the whole concept behind it, and that's why I really wanted to be part of our conversations of improving quality of care, because it's all about that. It's all about looking at where you are, what you are, who you are, and just looking at it from a little further, right? So that you are watching instead of constantly just doing your own life. Can you tell a little about that?
Yes. So, as I began to, what is also interesting about advertising and the journey of advertising and art is there's a lot of behavioral things that, to get people to buy. Hello. We studied a lot about, what gets us to begin. And so one of the things that I observed when meeting with my clients back then, I was doing business work, was that there's a lot of preconceived notions about who we are, how we enter the world, and what our right path is. what the right thing to do for ourselves is. And it's written by, we have all these things to judge ourselves so that we can see where we fit within everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So the crush was, as I began to work with brain scientists, cognitive scientists, like all of that, they would tell me little things about the brain that they are now discovering, with the ability to have fMRI, where they can actually, video ideas moving through our brain, or things that we thought theoretically, but now as we know much more about the brain, we're discovering maybe we're wrong.
Mm.
And so the technique that crush is based on is a standard reusable cadence and framework that you can come into. Someone described it as vinyasa for your brain. So it's really, right, movements that you get familiar with, that you can use anywhere, but it's really allowing you to see what is in the executive functioning part of your brain. So your rationale, your rules that exist, and then also tapping your true flow. We don't often begin to see them together. So in meditation, right, you're sort of moving between the two, but you're not actually putting them together and saying like, oh, that actually doesn't match up.
Mm.
So the technique is using what I've learned in business analytics, mapped with the open mind of discovery with art, right? In a series, in a cadence that we've discovered, that we created through what we call media design, right? So you do breadcrumbing. So how can we use that for us as individuals, so that whenever change happens and you're like, what the heck, which of course everyone is familiar with today, hello, right? It's sort of a way to be like, okay, I got this. Big things change. How do I break that into small actions that I can actually manage and I can make smarter choices with?
I think that's what's really wonderful about what you're bringing and what you're saying. Is not so much that we are trying to look at our lives and go delete, erase, right?
Yeah.
It's like really looking at what we have and find all the good and bad, right? But just maybe organize based on where you are now, right?
Yeah.
What worked yesterday might not work right now and might not work tomorrow. You're the same person, but you have to sort of navigate that, right? And that's what I feel you are bringing forth today for all of us to sort of maybe think a little and take it home and think a little more. So I'm really excited about that.
I am too.
So if you would like to get started, that would be great. Otherwise, you and I could keep talking forever.
Yeah, we can, I know, as we have many coffees for long periods of time. Yes, absolutely. So why don't we begin? And I can share.
And I'm just going to tell everyone just a few things. Keep yourself mute and please put questions in the chat. And we will take questions at the end. Jade will come on up and take questions. I will leave halfway through to get ready for the next session. So yes, please.
So let's begin, yeah. So I just want to confirm everyone can see the screen.
Yes.
And if you have not been able to download the playbook, do not worry. Just play along with pieces of paper. It's fine. So you've heard a little bit about the inspiration behind this. I find my inspiration from artists and from thinkers and creators and innovators. And this one really touched me because, a lot of what we try and do, at least our brain tries and does, is to keep everything steady because it takes energy to change. It burns energy in our brain when we're actually shifting. And so a lot of this is a mindset that I think the crush is based on, which is how do we move with the things that are changing? How do we use that energy to make choices so that as they are evolving, things are staying, and maybe things are going, we are not using our energy, our precious resources, to worry about what was, but rather we are keeping pace with what is. So before we begin, we always do a little pause. And this pause is to give us mental space. And you can use this technique anywhere. What we're going to do is sit in our chair, do a little visualization. So you're going to sit back in your chair and take a deep breath. Oh my gosh. And I know, especially Purvi and Jade have been like going 100 miles. So we're going to give you a little pause. Take a deep breath in and out. And gently close your eyes. And what we're going to do is just vision all of the mind messages we have in our head. We know that there is activity happening, emotion, thoughts, ideas that are rising in our heads. So what we're going to do is gently turn them, just for now, into little bright lights. It's almost like imagining little fireflies. So each idea, every emotion, everything in your head is turning into buzzing light. Now we're going to gently put our hands in our lap and imagine that they're holding a glass jar. We're going to tip our head down, and you're going to pour everything out of your head. You don't need it right now. It's going to fill the jar with lots of bright buzzing light. You're going to gently shake your head, get the last bits out. Next half an hour, you do not need that, and it will return. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lift that bowl and just toss it away. Bring our hands up over our heads. Oh, and stretch, because you have been sitting in front of Zoom for a really long time. Stretch up. Just give yourself a little room. Bring our hands down. Shoulders up to our ears and squeeze. Oh my gosh, that feels so good. Roll our shoulders back. Shoulders up, down. So we're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. And out 4, 3, 2, and 1. Gently open your eyes, and let's talk about the change cycle. So in the 70s, Hobson and Adams created this change transition model, and it's really based on what does our ego go through? You know, what does our self-esteem go through when we're in change? We have all been through this. Immobilization. Oh my God, I am so stuck. Minimization. It's not that bad. Depression. Oh my gosh, it is really bad. Acceptance. Okay, I've got this. Testing out. What are you doing, right? This is where we go out and we look, seeking meaning. Why is this happening? And finally, internalization, which is I'm going to do something, and what is that? Now, normally, when there is less activity around us, this may move through in long periods of time. This may be years of us experiencing each of these stages. Today, we may have this cycle happen multiple times where it's just like, well, what? Right? And now we cycle through. So part of documenting this is really thinking about and being more aware of where you are. And the crush is really about being able to move from that immobilization to internalization. I can break this down faster. So we use some standard steps, and these are business steps. We have done this all, whether consciously or unconsciously, so many times in our life, which is really check in. Where am I? Where do I want to be? Right? We're going to focus, clear our mojo. Where am I spending my time? And finally, how do I begin to create and play? How do I begin to map my what's next? One of the interesting, fun things that I learned through my journey and travel with understanding our brains was really understanding how our brains worked. So our brain, the best analogy that someone gave to me was it's like a computer. So we have an operating system and we have guides and rules that we use. Now those guides and rules are laid down from the time we are born. And so these are picked up, whether we are taught them, whether we learn them, whether we gain them from experience. I love this one because you're about to listen to Chip Conley. Chip did a reflection on the idea of being a Boy Scout and always having to be prepared. And in these times, that guide of always being prepared might actually be a block today. Because how could we be prepared for what's happening today? And so that beautiful sort of guide and sometimes might actually not be serving us and stopping us in other times. We have so many of these lessons and things that we are taught. These are all so familiar to us. And oh my gosh, as caregivers, even more so. Right? Everyone in front of us, even though what we do know internally is if as a caregiver, we are not caring for ourselves first, as a helper, if we are not caring for ourselves first, how can we give energy to others? So this is really a fast, what we're going to do today is a tiny, tiny little snack. So we're having a couple of French fries of the real crush, which is probably a Happy Meal. This is really just the French fries part. We're just going to tap and play today. But really, it's about thinking about what is still serving us just in this moment today. Again, one of my heroes, Maya Angelou, really, this is about forgiveness. What is astonishing to me is the amount of energy and time we give to berating ourselves because we didn't get it right. Oh, I should have known that. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if we just transform this one thing? Just this one thing. Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. What am I going to do with this? How can we transform our relationship to not getting it right to being one of joy as opposed to disappointment, right? We live in a world where everything is evolving and changing. How do we leverage that for ourselves? To say, okay, all right, typo, whatever it is, sketch. How do we have that artist's mind? Okay, Picasso's mind. A line a day, and what does that inform my mentality? What is crush? Crush is actually care. So what's been super fun is we've had a number of people like, oh yeah, I'm gonna crush it, right? Like Thor, crush, destroy. And actually the mentality and the entire movement behind crush is love. Because the rules in our operating system were laid in place purely to protect us. Every rule that is in our brain is something that was accepted because that was a wisdom of protection. It will keep our physical body safe. So being angry or aggressive towards it seems to be counterintuitive, as opposed to, oh, thank you so much. That rule kept me safe when I was 3. Why am I still using it in my 30s or 40s? Right? And yet, that was laid down. Well, yeah, that rule was laid down in horse and buggy days. We're now in the age of Tesla. Why am I still using that rule for horse and buggy days? Is that serving me? No? Well, great. Love you, rule. Don't need you right now. Might need you later. So what we're going to do is pay attention to those, because oftentimes they're sort of stuck in little drawers in our mind as opposed to being able to see them. So hopefully you have some Post-its or little pieces of paper. I would like stock in 3M because, oh my gosh, I have so many of these. So what we're going to do is, as we move through these little sprints, you're actually going to pay attention. What you're going to do is write down those kind of rules that rise up and are judging, or good emotions. Oh yeah, I'm crushing it. Or bad emotions like, oh, you know, what are you doing? You get that right? And you're just going to keep writing it down. So you're going to do a sprint, and then we'll go through that in the workbook or the playbook. And then you're also going to be recording the messages in our minds, not judgment, more like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So grab your playbook if you have it, get a piece of paper if you don't, and we're going to do a timed sprint. The way we do this is we're playing. And try to pay attention to if you are thinking about this or you're feeling this. So there's some really interesting things that they're learning about the brain. This part of our brain is really processing and using rule sets and guides. And then there is just knowing of where we are today, which is a lot more current. Now we need both. They're both really important. But sometimes in high change environments, they're kind of off sync. They're not serving each other. And so what we're going to do today is just do a tap on our feeling. And whenever our rules come up and pop up, we're going to pay attention to them. We're going to see. We're just gathering information right now. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to put a number assigned to each of these different areas: family, work, health, spirituality and giving back, finances, education and knowledge, fitness, relationships. It's what it means to you. It means something completely different to me. It's what does this mean to you? And how are you feeling about it right now? Highly satisfied is a 5. Less satisfied is a 1. A 3 is average. So you're going to like rapidly write in each one of these categories a number from 1 to 5, 1 being least satisfied, 5 being most satisfied, and one thing that you think might improve that. You have 2.5 minutes to do that. So you just go, and I'll tell you the time. This isn't about getting it right or finishing. It's about noticing. And if anything stops you, just write it down on a Post-it and put it to the side. Don't think, flow. We tend to want to think about these. Just write them down instinctively. Your instinct knows. Where are you feeling just right now today? Use your Post-its and write down things if you're noticing, gosh, I seem to be overthinking that one thing, or, oh, that's such an interesting thing. I'm feeling so good about that. And you have 30 seconds. And if anyone needs more time, just unmute and say yes. Okay. Our brains. It's so interesting that I think athletes, artists understand that intuitively where we're focused, what we are visualizing is what our reality is. And what is interesting about our brain is they're discovering the same centers that are lit up when we are imagining an action are the same, slightly less, of when we're actually doing that action. So we think about the power of that, what I am visualizing. And I think that a lot of the talks or the last 3 days have been about this, right? Being able to visualize and transform. So the question is, where are we putting our energy? What choices are we making today? This is a fun way to understand where our unconscious values are. What are we choosing unconsciously? So what we're going to do is it's a total of 2 minutes for one side, 2 minutes of the other side, 4 minutes. We're going to sketch out, just brainstorm. What might be most important to me today? Again, we're not forecasting. We're just thinking about what is important today. And then what you're going to do is you're going to force rank them. And again, part of this is just paying attention, like, oh, I had no idea that was at the top and most important for me today. Because our rule sets, remember, our operating system doesn't like to change. We may be told that this other thing should be at the top. This should be the most important thing. But really our instinct, our gut, our knowing is saying, yeah, this I have a different compass of what is most important or not important. Okay, so you're gonna get 2 minutes starting now with the first side, which is brainstorming. And as you do this, again, anything that is an interesting moment, feelings, thoughts, blocks, guides, write them down in your Post-its as you're doing your sprint. And these are just examples. Your important things will be something different, obviously. Whenever you're ready, go on over and begin to force rank. I find that this part is really rich discovery for your post-its. Rich opportunity to discover what is really at the top all the way down to the bottom. Don't forget to write little love notes to yourself. You're discovering things. Whatever's coming up, put it to the side. And you've got 1 more minute. And if anyone needs more time, just unmute and say yes. Okay. I love the discoveries about the malleability of our brains. And I love the discoveries about the fact that our brains are actually in constant evolution. In constant evolution. So one of the stories I tell is about my aunt, who is a world-class weightlifter. She started weightlifting in her 80s. And at 90, she's a champion weightlifter, not in COVID times, obviously, but goes and competes. And really, it's about her attitude. It's about her openness. It's about her ability to look at what the rules were about tiny Asian women lifting weights and saying, yeah, that was for someone else. That might not be for me. What if? What if? But it's also about choices. So what we're going to do is a little sprint about what we are choosing. Paying attention to what we are unconsciously choosing. I use this method to organize anything. So I have 4 piles. One is must keep. The next one is, oh no, why do I need it, right? This happens a lot in my closet. I have lots of outdated, sparkly things that should go. And then just makes me happy, which is all of the old rock and roll band t-shirts that I can't let go. And then finally on my list. And so this is a method to audit our unconscious or maybe conscious activities. How do we pay attention? What are we doing now? What are we choosing? What are we choosing? So you have 5 minutes. You have 2.5 minutes for audit. Where are you spending your physical, mental, and emotional time? Then sorting that. And then what we're going to do is look at, what would I like to be doing more of? can I begin this now? Is this preparation required? Or is this like really crazy far off, but I don't want to lose it, right? So 2.5 minutes starting now. And again, remember, pay attention to other things that are coming up for you that you just want to note. You just want to note. Write them on the Post-it. Don't need you right now. I'm focused on this. Whenever you're ready, begin to move over to what would you like to spend your energy on? Where would you like to shift some of your energy? Obviously, going back and forth. And you have 1 more minute. This is really about, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And if anyone needs more time, Just unmute and say yes. Okay. Remember, all we're doing is French fries. These are snacks. We're just getting familiar, just familiar, tasty little snacks of, wow, isn't that interesting? Where am I expending my precious energy? Where am I choosing to put things, right? So even if you have not used Post-its, this is a fun part where you begin to see what are the messages in your mind? What are the things that are feeling that come up, right? We don't have a place to put them, so we just sort of tuck them into drawers. So this is the moment where you can take them and begin to move them out onto paper. And here's the other interesting thing about our brains. Our brains are pattern seekers. So we have had people who've had like 40 Post-its all in front of them, lots and lots of things. But as they began to look for patterns, they realized that their brain was actually stuck on only 2 topics. Just obsessed with 2 topics, giving that message to you over and over again. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 2.5 minutes and just start to sort through. You can write more Post-its, or you can just look through and say, my brain is stuck on the time channel, or my brain is stuck on my age channel, or my personality. By the way, there are other channels, obviously. There are lots of other channels that your brain might be stuck on. But we're just going to take 2.5 moments and just notice, like, what channel is my brain messaging out of? And you have 1 minute left. And if anyone needs more time, just unmute and say yes. Okay. Another hero, and a really good reminder. The wisdom of being kind to ourselves, being open with ourselves, and really, really giving ourselves a gift of 1 step at a time. 1 step at a time. So I'm hoping that you found some discovery. The full Happy Meal has a lot more mapping in it. And this is just a little, what I call an amuse-bouche, a little snack, a little yummy. Before we move into Q&A, Why don't we do a little bit of vision? Just sit back in our chair because you have a whole evening more to go on Zoom. So we're going to take a deep breath in and out, and in and out. Gently close your eyes and let one thing rise in you that you're grateful for. Just let that one thing of thankfulness rise as a beautiful light. Let it gently float up. Fill your mind. Roll back down over your shoulders and feel your shoulders just drop. Just dropping. Feel the tension fall out. Feel your mind expanding. And we're going to breathe in on the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and in and gently open your eyes. And I'll end with the little Purvi Shah quote. Really, it's a journey. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
I think we got a lot of comments in the chat saying, this is genius, this is brilliant.
Oh, thank you so much.
Just want to remind everybody that Janis was so grateful. Like she has a promo code
Yes.
for the full crush. If
yes. It's actually for membership, and we just opened our member site, and my husband just informed me that it's all capital letters. So it's AHI Crush, all one word, all capital 2020.
I don't think Purvi put the website. Let me just put that up now.
And thank you, everyone, for coming in and giving your mind a little mind snack. Hopefully it was relaxing. Crushes and caps as well. So it's AHICRUSH, all capital letters, 2020. And it's 30% off individual membership for the rest of forever. As long as you want to be a member.
Andrea's like, can I go back to the last slide with the last quote?
Yeah, so this is Purvi's quote. And if I don't know if anyone has any quick questions.
If anyone wants to share about any new
discoveries, ahas, interesting things.
I'm just going to put the link for the next session in case people want to get ready. But
hi Janis, this is Kiran. So it's very nice, very helpful, made you think, and will help you think ahead what you want to do and where you need to focus and not focus on. Is this something you also use for vision boards? Or that's something totally different?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Vision boards?
Vision boards, you can use this for anything. Jade has been through the full, and we have a couple of people who've been through the full thing. You actually end up exiting with a full crush with a map. So you end up theming everything, and you write out small little incremental things that you're going to do. It's a 3-week planning map or a 3-month planning map. We have longer ones that are 2 hours where you actually vision out 10 years and you map your way back. And it's all done on a timer. We don't need that much time to do this. It's just the front part of our brain gets us all caught up and judging ourselves. This is really about how can we make this sketch like and fun and joyful.
Yeah. I
Thank
think,
you.
yeah, provided this toolkit for us. And excited for everyone to learn more about you guys. Oh, actually, I was thinking about PJ. PJ is one of our past speakers. I was thinking about her when you were talking about, was it your aunt that was the weightlifter? Yeah. So I'm glad she's in the session right now. I'll have to connect you guys later.
Yeah. Yes, I come from a family of very long-lived and very active individuals. I also work a lot with millennials and Gen Zers, and so it's been a delight. We've had people as young as 15 and all the way to 80 plus. My aunt was 80 when she began weightlifting. So don't let anyone tell you you can't pick up a weight when you're older. My mother also began Bikram yoga when she was 60. She was a powder puff, and she ended up being an instructor at 69. And she continues to practice in her 80s for 3 hours a day, frankly, and it's astonishing.
Yeah, so inspiring. Oh, okay. And they're like, oh, we're going live.
Yes.
So, and if they want to connect with you, do you have an email that I can share?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It's jns@crushandflow.com.
Put that in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Janis.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see Jeff. Yay!
Yeah, he's a radio host, and he's been talking with 2 of our artists about adversity to advocacy. So thank you so much for joining, everybody.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you everyone for participating in the crush. I'm really grateful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'll see you later tonight, maybe, Janis, for the.
But you're gonna totally see me. I'm so excited. I'm gonna now attend everything.
Amazing.
Thank you very much. It was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Cheyenne Kazi, and my family and I first became involved with Kids&Art when my sister Ira was diagnosed with cancer. Throughout the course of her treatment, we attended a variety of workshops, our favorite one being the Pixar workshops, and truly all of these were a huge source of support and comfort for us in some very, very dark times. For that reason, when Ira passed away in 2011, we actually continued to participate in these workshops now as a bereaved family. Since then, I myself have become a survivor, and now more than ever, I can really say just how important and relevant and needed these conversations are, and their impact is truly lifelong. So if you found this session valuable like I did, please share. Please consider donating, or even better, please consider becoming a sustaining donor. Every little bit helps families like mine. Thank you.